last instalment of lessons from the Angus Sire Benchmarking Program, we discussed how there was on average minimal changes in the EBVs of sires in cohorts 1, 2 and 3, from when the sires were initially joined in the ASBP and at the end of the program when the progeny had been comprehensively performance recorded. We also found that the initial EBVs, despite being of low accuracy, describe the relative genetic merit of the sires well. In this video, we are going to explore this in more detail, and in particular, take a look at how much the EBVs for each individual sire changed. Furthermore, for the purpose of this video, we are going to review the 200-day growth EBVs for sires in cohort 3, with similar findings having been observed across other traits and cohorts in the ASBP. To start with, the graph on the screen illustrates the initial and final 200-day growth EBVs for each sire. The blue bars representing the initial EBV of each sire when first joined in the ASBP, while the red bars represent the final EBVs of each sire at the end of the project when all progeny performance data had been included in the EBV calculation. This graph clearly shows that while there was minimal changes on average, the EBVs for individual sires did change. That said, while the EBVs for some increased, some sires decreased and some remained unchanged, there was not significant re-ranking observed. That is, with a small number of exceptions, bulls that started off with a high 200-day growth EBV also finished the program with a high 200-day growth EBV. Also, the bulls that started off with a low 200-day growth EBV also finished the program with a low 200-day growth EBV. It is important to evaluate whether the changes in the EBVs of individual sires was within the expected ranges. The accuracy figure, which is produced alongside each BREEDPLAN EBV, provides an indication of the amount of information used in the calculation of that EBV. The higher the accuracy, the more likely the EBV is to predict the animal's true breeding value, and the less likely the EBV is to change. The average accuracy for the 200-day growth EBVs of sires entered in cohort 3 of the Angus Sire Benchmarking Program was relatively low at 71%, indicating that some change in EBVs of individual sires was expected when the sire's progeny were performance recorded. To assess whether the changes observed were in the expected range, the standard error, based on the accuracy of each EBV, was calculated. Statistically, the initial EBV for each sire is not expected to change more than one standard error for 7 out of every 10 sires. For the statistics enthusiasts, that is based on the distribution of expected change following a normal bell curve. When the data was analysed, it was found that EBVs for 75% of sires, or 30 out of 40 sires, did not change more than one standard error, which is better than what was expected, indicating that changes in the sires EBVs were within the expected ranges. The graph displayed depicts these changes on an individual sire basis. It shows the range of expected change to one standard error for each sire, with the blue bars representing one standard error outside the initial EBV, and the red dot representing the final EBV. This project has shown clearly that there was, on average, minimal change in the EBVs of sires in cohorts 1, 2 and 3 of the Angus Sire Benchmarking Program. And the initial EBVs of sires, despite being of low accuracy, describe the relative genetic merit of the sire as well. The changes that were observed to the EBVs of individual sires, both in terms of the number of individual sires whose EBVs changed and the magnitude of the changes, were within expected ranges based on the accuracy of the sire's initial EBVs. The outcomes from the project demonstrate that EBVs are a reliable selection tool, and beef producers should use EBVs with confidence to identify genetics that are most aligned with their breeding programs and breeding objectives, and in turn to achieve long-term, sustainable genetic improvement. Most sires will perform as predicted by their EBV, and while some individual sires may perform better or worse than the prediction, the EBVs will on average provide a reliable indicator of the genetics that sire is delivering to the breeding herd.